I'm Tali, Campbell in Nanaimo.
And I'm Christopher Munns-Micklin in Victoria.
And this is 9 Online Tali Campbell Report Special on CHEK News. We're going to talk about a little bit of their new anchor they've hired. We're going to talk about how this all started 2 years ago. And with that, we're going to start right away, right back to Victoria with Christopher Munns-Micklin and talk about the how this all started for CHEK back 2 years ago. Christopher.
Thank you, Tali. Well, from the dark days of August 2009 to a bright future in 2012 and hopefully beyond, CHEK-TV has certainly come a long way in the past 3 years.
On a historic day here at CHEK News, an exciting atmosphere. So great to see so many people out here. We have lots of special guests we're going to be hearing from, and we've got some great stories to show you tonight, reflecting back on 53 years that CHEK has been here on the island serving the community.
It was in August of 2009 that Canwest-Global, owner of CHEK Television, announced that they would be closing the station due to a lack of money and a lack of potential buyers. Reaction from the public was overwhelmingly negative.
I'm royally pissed off that nothing has been done to keep CHEK-TV on air.
And I think that's awful.
It's short-sighted on the part of the parent companies.
However, on August 31st, what was supposed to be the last broadcast day of CHEK, this.
At this time, with the support of CanWest and everybody at CHEK Television, as well as the CRTC and everybody at the government, we will be on the air tomorrow. We are working to bring this to a great conclusion.
And after some marathon discussions between CanWest management and CHEK News staff, it was announced in early September that the station was saved. CanWest selling it to an investor group made up of station employees and local businesses.
The last 40 days have been an incredible ride for viewers, supporters, and staff. Tonight we can tell you that after 53 years of being the #1 station on the island, a deal by the employees and several local investors has been accepted by CanWest.
In the 2 years that followed the employee buyout of CHEK News, a lot has happened, the most visible of which has been the addition of some high-profile faces to the staff of CHEK News. On March 15th, legendary BC News anchor and longtime host of BCTV's NewsHour, Tony Parsons, joined CHEK News as anchor of the 10 p.m. news slot, just 3 months after his retirement from BCTV Global. The addition of high-profile team members hasn't been the only change at CHEK News. On August 31st, 2011, the station turned on its digital TV transmitter in compliance with CRTC regulations. The initial days for CHEK Digital were a little rough, but the station's engineering department was responsive to public feedback and actively worked with members of the Digital Home Forum to resolve an audio issue. In the weeks and months following the conversion to DTV, CHEK has upgraded their equipment to high definition and transmits proper program guide data with their over-the-air signal, something that major broadcasters like Global Vancouver still hasn't been able to accomplish.
Now, Vancouver Island's most watched newscast.
Finally, we have to remember that CHEK's major focus is on the news, and in April of 2010, an announcement that would give the station access to quality journalism on a national scale. CHEK News entered into a news-sharing agreement with the CBC, which will give CHEK access to reports and video from all across Canada. As I mentioned in my report, it was in 2010 that CHEK-TV signed a news-sharing agreement with the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. Now, this news-sharing agreement is actually good news for both CHEK-TV and for the CBC. Primarily, it's good news for CHEK because it gives them access to a whole library of video and a massive assortment of reporters from across Canada. But it's also good news for the CBC because it actually gives them access to reporters and access to video footage from Victoria. It's interesting to note that Victoria is the only provincial capital in Canada that actually does not have a CBC affiliate located in town. And obviously, the CBC sees the journalism coming out of CHEK as quality. Otherwise, they wouldn't have chosen CHEK to become one of their primary news partners. But for now, let's go back to Tali Campbell, who's standing by in Nanaimo, and Tali is going to talk a little bit about some of the personalities that have come to CHEK in recent years. Tali?
Thank you, Christopher. As Christopher was mentioning the whole deal with CBC, how this all started, I'm going to start talking about the high profiles that are coming to CHEK News. We learned about it right after when Global's ex-newscaster Tony Parsons, who's now on CHEK and CBC, announced to be leaving Global after a long time being with them, covering many elections, covering their newscast, their news hour for several years. And he came to CHEK to anchor the 10 p.m. newscast. And with the agreement through CBC, he anchors the 5 and 6 p.m. newscast for CBC, which also the 6 p.m. newscast for CBC is aired on CHEK. So the agreement has extended a lot, and it's interesting to see how much it goes after that. That's one profile, high-profile name that has come to CHEK. The second one is the brand new newscaster who will be anchoring the flagship newscast at 5 p.m. on CHEK since they leave Scott B, who left to go to Global Calgary back in December, will be Jim Beattie. Jim Beattie, CTV's legislative bureau chief since 2005, and he's previously worked at the Vancouver Sun, covering politics for several years. He's going to anchor the 5 p.m. newscast at CHEK. He's going to add a lot of depth and talent to that already stellar roster, as you could say, at CHEK. But there are some questions that do come up. Where's Stacey Ross going to go? Stacey Ross is one of my favorite anchors at CHEK, and she's been doing a great job since Scott B left. So it's interesting to see where she goes and how that all develops, and see where everyone else goes, really. We're also going to talk a little bit about some new things that have come to CHEK. As you know, Checkpoint is the interactive segment on the show now, hosted by Dan Hutchings. Dan Hutchings hosted Island 30 back a little while ago, but now hosts this new, it's basically what it is, it's a every day, 5 days a week rather, they ask a question at about 10:30 in the morning. They post on the Facebook, Twitter, and us viewers get to respond to how we like. So sometimes it's, are you prepared for snow, or just questions like that gets the viewers interacting. And Dan Hutchings hosted that, and she always brings in Twitters and Facebooks, emails, and they also have a poll each day on their website at www.cheknews.ca. So interested to show that if you've not seen it yet, that's Dan Hutchings hosts that 5 days a week on CHEK News at 5. Also, the only sports show on Vancouver Island, Game On, hosted by sports director Jeff King and Paul Haysom. Like I said, I love sports, and I love those two guys. They cover sports in such a dynamic coverage, and it's great to see a sports show on Vancouver Island. So catch it out Sunday nights, 6:30 and 10:30 on Channel 6. But now we're going over back to Christopher Munsvick, who's in Victoria. I'm talking about the HD for CHEK. Back to Christopher. Chris?
That's right, Tali. CHEK-TV is now broadcasting in high definition. Now, this whole process started in August of 2011 when CHEK-TV turned on their digital over-the-air transmitter to comply with CRTC regulations. At the time, CHEK was only broadcasting a digital standard definition signal, but since they actually turned on their over-the-air transmitter, they have upgraded the equipment there to actually broadcast in full high definition. Now, the newscasts for CHEK-TV are not yet being broadcast in HD, but now that the station has an HD transmitter, and now that they're starting to broadcast some regular programming in high definition, I think it's only going to be a matter of time before they bring their newscasts and their graphics and eventually even their footage gathered from the field all into high definition. So it'll be interesting to watch for that over the coming weeks and months. Now, as CHEK was doing their conversion to digital, it really showed me the community-mindedness of the station. When they first turned on their digital transmitter, CHEK was having a lot of problems with their audio. Many over-the-air viewers using regular set-top boxes were not actually able to decode the audio from the transmitter. They would get nice crystal clear video but no audio. And the station's engineering department not only listened to the comments that people had to give them, but they actually directly worked with a couple members of the Digital Home Forum to actually get the issue resolved and to better understand what was going on. When CHEK upgraded their transmitters to high definition, they managed to resolve the audio issue, and for over-the-air viewers in Victoria, Vancouver, and Nanaimo who watch it on digital channel 49, audio and video are now crystal clear again. So really, it's become clear to me that CHEK-TV is very much a community-oriented station, and a station that's focused on the community that it exists in and the viewers that it serves. Back to you in Nanaimo, Tali.
Thank you, Christopher. We've covered so many aspects from all the way from how CHEK began this all the way into the new high profiles to new segments, right into high definition. And it's not gone without unseen from board chair Levi Sampson. Levi Sampson owns Harmac, well, partially owns Harmac with the employees, and he also brought that in with CHEK. As you know, CHEK is independently owned, and Levi is excited to see where this company is going to go in the future. And personally, I work with Levi quite close with a few projects, and it's great to see such a young man like him bringing it. And John Paul, the president of CHEK, who says this new hiring of Jim Beattie is without great pleasure to welcome the team, and the future looks great for CHEK. It's basically the simply reply to say to it, because so many endless things are going to happen with CHEK. I do believe so. And I coincide a lot with CHEK employees, and every time I talk to them, it's all about smiles, happy times, and excited to see where they're going to go.